I turned the mic on, then I turned the mic off, then I cleared my throat, then I turned the mic on. I'm getting better at this. It's only taken me 227 episodes to slightly improve. Here we are. What's happening? It's Riter Radio. It is episode 227, as I've already pointed out. And we don't have any guests today, so it's just going to be me hanging out with you from now until noon if I last. I love doing shows. Oh, the blue on my head is like the exact same blue as the flag behind me. Look at that. Isn't that cool? Look at that. Huh. Didn't do that on purpose. Just happened to work out that way. I love doing these shows. And then there are some days where I was just like, what? I don't want to. Like, I'm cold. I'm tired. I did all my Bills stuff yesterday. The show kind of got taken over by the Rob Reiner murder situation, and his wife, too. I just don't know her. Her life is no less significant. But you wouldn't want to be, I wouldn't want to be accused of saying the wrong things following 2 deaths and the arrest of their son. Because that would be pretty embarrassing to take something like that and then try to turn that into something about yourself, Like if you were the president and that happened? Oh, yeah, that's pretty, I don't know. I didn't enjoy, I think the show was good. But I didn't enjoy dwelling on that yesterday for the better part of an hour. And honestly, it just kind of brought me down. Like I need a palate cleanser or something. And the perfect show to do today as a palate cleanser would just be like complete random and silly. Like that's the vibe that I would like. That's the show I would like to listen to or watch right now. I just don't feel especially prepared to host it today. So it doesn't, we'll be fine. It's just, I usually have something coming out of the gate where I'm like, this is the thing I want to do right now. And I don't. Like, I've got my show sheets back, but look at how blank. Look at how, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. I'm not in the mood. So, one might ask, well, then why do a show at all? And I would say, I don't know. I feel obligated because I told you I'd be here. But I don't have it today. I feel a little off, a little sick, a little freezing, a little like my brain is melted a little. There's just a lot of stuff happening, and it seems like taking the 2 hours to sit down and do the show. It's the opposite of what I feel like doing right now, but I'm here. I don't have anyone, pointing a gun at my head saying the show has to go until noon. So maybe it'll end up short. Maybe I'll get into a groove and end up going long. I don't know. But as of right now, I'm not feeling it. So I'm sharing that. I don't have to tell you that. I could have just kept that to myself and done the show. And you'd be like, hey, it seems a little off. And you'd be right. But I don't know. Got up really early today. No alarm. Really early for me. I woke up at, I don't know, like 6:30. And then just kind of laid around for a while till about 7:30. And then I've been up since then. And maybe that's my problem. Can you guys just hold on while I take a nap for like 45 minutes and I'll jump back in? Like that, maybe that's it. I'm not a get up super early, although I went to bed super early last night and slept all the way through. I woke up at like 3 and TV was on and I don't even remember what it was. It was something on Prime. So Prime was on and I just started sifting through movies to find something to fall asleep to. And I landed on the Poseidon Adventure. I remember hearing how great that movie was when I was a kid. And then watching it and thinking it was pretty great. And then I watched it now and man, I don't know if it came out in 71 or 73, something like that. But man, is it just crazy dated. And I kind of forgot how movies used to all just contain piles and piles of overacting. Like it was all so almost stage-like. You know how any play or musical you attend, like there's an element of, wow, this is cool and wow, this is entertaining. But there's also just this incredible feeling of This is super fake that just pours off the stage. This movie was the same way. It was so much of it was just so I don't know, like tacky. I didn't make it to the end. I don't even remember how it ends. But if you're not familiar with the Poseidon Adventure, it's a ship, like a cruise ship, that flips over. And so then they're all at the bottom of the boat, which would have been the top of the boat because they fell. And then they have to spend the whole movie trying to climb to the hull, which is at the top. See what I mean about my not being right there? Hold on. I'm not going to. I can't keep talking and then just have the phlegm building. That's no good. I don't even feel sick. I just feel off, and then my throat is doing that. So, I don't know. But they have to climb to the top of the ship, which is actually the bottom of the ship. And then it's a steel hull. So how do you get rescued from a steel hull? And somebody pointed out they're going to use like where the motor is or so. I don't know. It's just it wasn't as great as I remembered. Just seeing. Gene Hackman's awesome in it because he's Gene Hackman. Ernest Borgnine is there. A lot of like people I recognize. Like this is back in the day when they would list all the people in the movie at the beginning of the movie. So I'm seeing all these names that I recognize, and I'm seeing all these faces that I recognize. But it's a lot of those late 60s, early 70s type of actors where I know the names and I know the faces, but I don't know which names go with which faces. It's kind of that. So I kind of thought I would be surprised. Like, oh, look. Hey, there's Tom Selleck. Or not him, but like, hey, I forgot that so-and-so is in this. But there was really nothing. I'm going to look up the Poseidon Adventure right now. So I can find out who actually was in it other than Ernest Borgnine. And, they did a 2005 television version of it? I didn't know that. Wonder if that was any less tacky. Shelley Winters, Carol Lindley, Red Buttons, Pamela Sue Martin. These are names I recognize. Stella Stevens, I don't know. Jack Albertson, Roddy McDowell. Here's the story of this movie. Spoiler alert. It came out in 72. Did I really guess 71 or 3 and not 2? I think I did. Dumb. Poseidon Adventure is a 1972 American disaster film based on a 1969 novel of the same name. Ensemble cast includes 5 Oscar winners: Gene Hackman, Ernest Borgnine, Jack Albertson, Shelley Winters, and Red Buttons. What's Red Buttons' real name? It can't be your name. You can't be named Red Buttons. I know this is not real groundbreaking radio here. All right, yeah, he was born Aaron Schwatt, Chwatt. Schwatt. Yeah, I get why you would change it to Buttons. Actor and comedian, won an Oscar and Golden Globe for Sayonara. He was also nominated for his work in Harlow, They Shoot Horses, Don't They? ? And Pete's Dragon. Anybody else about my age get very confused when Pete's Dragon and Puff the Magic Dragon were 2 separate things, but they were both introduced to you at about the same time? Because I hear Pete's Dragon, I think Mickey Rooney's involved, but also Puff, that's the weed one, right? Is that what that is? What was Puff the Magic Dragon? He lived by the sea, right? Pete's Dragon. Does Pete's Dragon... All right, now we're doing dragon stuff. Looking up some dragon stuff. I don't watch dragon movies. Even as a kid, I thought dragon movies were stupid. Helen Reddy, Jim Dale, Mickey Rooney, Red Buttons, and Shelley Winters. Initially conceived as Pete's Dragon. It's a 1977 film. Conceived in 1957 as a 2-part episode of the Disneyland television series, but it was shelved till it was revived as a musical film in 1975. It was released November 3rd, 77, and mixed reviews from critics, though some praised the animation. I remember, this is one of those things, there are certain movies and television shows that I'll say, like, give me a headache, and I don't know, it's not an actual headache, but it's like, There's something about them that bug me so much that I can't possibly watch it. Pete's Dragon is one of those things. That Impractical Jokers is like that. In Living Color was like that. I couldn't look at Jim Carrey. I needed him off my screen immediately. Or Jamie Foxx in that, I want to say Shanae, but I don't know if that's the right name, but it was like him as a woman. Just really hideous. I couldn't look at that. I can't look at Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory or really anything with Gene Wilder in it for the most part. I can't think of anything where I can tolerate him. I'm creeped out by him. I can't look at him. Pete's Dragon falls into that category. Can't do it. Look. And then what's Puff the Magic Dragon? I know he lived by the sea. I know it's a song. Let's see what the story is on Puff. Is that completely a drug reference? That was a movie, too. That came out in 1978. See, that's the problem. One comes out when I'm 3. One comes out when I'm 4. They both have dragons. They're both green. They both have a P name, Puff and Pete. I know Puff is the dragon. Pete is a person, a kid probably that has a drag. I don't know. Puff the Magic Dragon is a 30-minute animated TV special based on the song of the same name, made notable by Peter, Paul, and Mary. It features Burgess Meredith as the voice of the title character. Puff's narration it begins with Puff's narration about a little boy named Jackie Draper, who's filled with so much self-doubt and fear that he stopped talking altogether. The parents are concerned. They have 3 doctors examine him. They say it's hopeless and that little Jackie will never talk again. All right, that's a trope that has been everywhere forever and has never existed. Nobody, no doctor, ever tells a parent your kid is never going to talk. No one does that. Say, we got some work ahead of us. It's going to be a long road. But no doctor does that. No doctor, this boy will never walk again. All right, see ya. I'm going to hit the golf course. They don't do that. So I always the BS meter goes off when you hear it. It's more about real life stories because they put it into movies. It's unrealistic, but you'll hear it. You'll hear it from somebody who's, I was told I would never walk again. It's like, who? By whom? And I don't believe you. I don't believe anybody's ever been told that. Particularly like a kid is in an accident. Like, we've got some work to do to get you back up and running. Am I wrong here? Is that a real thing that doctors have said to humans? Sorry, ma'am, your son will never walk again. And then like 20 years later, he's telling the story. But yeah, they said I'd never walk again. It's like, did they? Or did your mom just think that was what she heard? Because she was so mad because she thought you'd never walk again. Your mom might have thought it. But nobody says that, right? Unless we're all pure evil. Why would you say that to someone? You would say this is going to be very difficult. You've got a long journey ahead of you. I hardly went to any medical school at all. And I know to do that. I didn't go to any medical school. I had none. 0. They wouldn't. That was not an option for me. It was not anything I ever considered. Looking back on it, might not have been a horrible choice, right? Like, that's probably better than doing this. But it just never occurred to me to get into any sort of field like that. Could have, didn't. That said, I think I would have had a great bedside manner, because I personally would not be like these fictional doctors that tell people they're never going to walk again. I would never do that. So you'd like Dr. Riter. I wonder if there is a Dr. Riter. I got a large family, and I don't call anybody doctor. It's a lot of us. I don't think we have a doctor. Okay. What happens? Puff invites himself in, talks to Jackie about inner happiness. Wait, what? I skipped a sentence. His parents are so concerned that they have 3 doctors examine him. They say it's hopeless, and little Jackie will never talk again. Jackie returns to his room where he sits until Puff comes to his bedroom window and starts a conversation with him. There we go. All right, Puff invites himself in, just drag in at your door or window. So, hey, can I come in? The kid, not speaking, must be just like nods or something. I don't know. Talks to Jackie about inner happiness and pulls a long sheet of paper out of a magic bag. He cuts the paper into a paper doll shaped like Jackie and dubs it Jackie Paper, because the kid's name is Jackie Draper. He then explains that Jackie Paper can do anything then asks if he can put his happiness into it. After he does so, the paper doll version of Jackie comes to life, and Puff then begins to make plans to go to Honolulu, which is located by the sea. Jackie admits he's afraid, so we're talking now. That's good. Look at that. You're never going to talk again. 5 minutes later, he's talking. This whole thing is 30 minutes long. So he's never going to talk again. Then a magic dragon shows up. Then he speaks immediately? Come on. Puff then helps Jackie make a boat using things in Jackie's room, such as string, sealing wax, and the frame of his bed. What is Jackie up to that he's got sealing wax in his room? S-E-A-L-ing wax. They set out on the ocean, where they meet a boat filled with kings and princes in the shape of cards. This sounds like crap. Afterward, Jackie says he was afraid of pirates after hearing about them. Well, yeah. They then run into Very Long John Black and Bluebeard Kid, a giant pirate who takes them to his island. Pirates don't have their own islands, do they? Maybe they do. Dragons don't talk either. Dragons don't exist. I forgot about that one. That's a big one. While they await their fate, Puff says that Very Long John will not be scary if they get to know him. Then they view his inner desire with Puff's magic smoke rings, which have the power to reveal hidden things. This is where the drugs come in, I believe. It reveals that Very Long John secretly wishes to be a baker. Jackie challenges Very Long John to bake a cherry pie, which he does, on a boat in the ocean. Okay. He does it, and then he subsequently expresses that he always wanted to be a baker, but never believed he could do it, and was afraid he couldn't change from being a pirate. Jackie prompts him to make this change, and Very Long John expresses his gratitude to Jackie and Puff. How do you apply for that job? Yeah, I've been a pirate for 30 years, but I've been thinking about it. I've decided to get off the high seas, stop robbing and pillaging boats as they go by, and I would just like to bake cherry pies now. So this gap in my resume that you're seeing of 20 years on the high seas as a pirate, I'd like to let's not talk about that. Let's just try the spy. That is a tough career switch. All right, they continue their journey until they reach the starless sky, where jealous clouds block out the brightness of the stars. One of the stars falls, and Puff instructs Jackie to take the small star to the sky with the boat, which Puff gives butterfly wings. This is a crazy plot. This is crazy. In order for the ship to fly, Puff has to get out of the boat, leaving Jackie alone to face his fears. Jackie then returns the star to the sky, brightening the sky. Puff rewards Jackie with a medal for bravery. Eventually, they reach Honolulu, which, instead of a paradise, turns out to be a gloomy place. This is revealed to be the work of living sneezes that, out of depression, made the place gloomy to fit their mood. Puff then orders Jackie to leave, as this is no place for him. After that, Puffy. We did Puffy last week. That was depressing. This is just terrible. After Puff sadly walks to his cave, realizing he was not brave enough to defeat the sneezes. This is what we were showing to kids in 1977? 78? Yeah. He's then reunited with Jackie, who returns with Very Long John and his chicken soup to cure the living sneezes of their colds, making them happy. They then return Honolulu to its happy glory by singing. Once this is done, Puff and Jackie go back to Jackie's room and return Jackie to his body. Puff tells Jackie thanks to his bravery, he's now healed and is strong again, and thanks Jackie for helping him too. Puff tells Jackie that he must be brave to face growing up, that time is far stronger than magic. That's true. Time is very strong. All right, pothead. Jackie says he'll never forget about Puff, to which Puff replies, "We'll see." Jerk. Puff leaves as Jackie's parents come into the room to find Jackie happy and talking again. Then they hug Jackie and express their love for him. The film ends with Puff asking the audience if they just saw a dragon walk by, similar to what he asked Jackie at the beginning of the story. What are we talking about, man? Burgess Meredith is Puff? What? I don't recognize the other names. In September 79, a picture book adaptation of the special was published by Avon Books. So at first it's a hippie song. Then it becomes a half-hour special. Then that becomes a book. It's dedicated to Peter, Paul, and Mary. Words and sheet music to several songs that are featured in the special can be found at the back of the book, including the boat song and Weave Me the Sunshine. The book also makes use of the original song throughout, as the special does. The head of Puff can also be seen on the Green Dragon in the music video for Weird Al Yankovic's song, Another Tattoo. And that's that. No reference to drugs in there at all. That said, the entire story is insane. So I think that's probably where the drugs come in. The special was followed by 2 sequels, Puff the Magic Dragon in the Land of the Living Lies in 79. And then in 1982, we had Puff and the Incredible Mr. Nobody. So there, that's what you need to know about Puff the Magic Dragon. While we're talking about specials, somebody recently sent me a clip from Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. And I would just like to say, that came out in 1977. This is all stuff that, it's like in my formative years. So it was just there. Like stuff that came out in 77 when I was 2 or 3. That was all. It was all just there. So this is the kind of stuff we had kicking around. Puff the Magic Dragon and Pete's Dragon, totally different. And then Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, which I will be honest, until a month ago, it never occurred to me that was just the Muppets. I mean, it was different characters, but it's very clearly a Jim Henson production. It's very clearly a Muppet special. Did not occur to me. From 1977 when it came out until November, that Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, I just thought that was a thing, a relic from the past. It used to show up on HBO every December, and then it would go away, and I remember liking it. I don't remember what it's about. I don't remember any plot line, nothing. I just know that I liked it. And then I recently saw a clip from it, and I thought, oh, it's the Muppets. That's why I liked it. So there. Maybe everyone else knew that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that until now. The cast starts with, of course, Jim Henson. Frank Oz is involved. All the greats. Jerry Nelson, Richard Hunt. It's just a Muppet thing. The full movie is available on YouTube. That's a surprise. 53 minutes. Full movie of Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas is available to be seen. Maybe I'll watch that at some point. We can talk about that. All right, back to the Poseidon Adventure. This era of movies, these disaster movies. You think of Airport. There was The Towering Inferno and Earthquake. Both came out the same year, 1974. Airport was 1970. Poseidon Adventure, 1972. And passengers and crew are trapped inside. There's a tsunami. It's New Year's Day. The Poseidon, the SS Poseidon, a luxury liner on its final voyage from New York City to Athens, is overturned by a tsunami. Was released in December of 72. Became the second highest grossing film of the year, earning over $125 million worldwide. Nominated for 8 Academy Awards, won 2 Oscars, a Golden Globe, a British Academy Film Award, and it's bad. Like I like it, but it's kind of bad. Hell upside down on the poster. At midnight on New Year's Eve, the SS Poseidon was struck by a 90-foot tidal wave and capsized. The Poseidon Adventure. Who will survive in one of the greatest escape adventures ever? It's good and bad at the same time. I'm not telling you to not watch the Poseidon Adventure. I would recommend watching the Poseidon Adventure. In fact, I'm interested in the 2005 version of it that was made for TV because I don't remember that. And we're going to look that up next. That's what we're doing today, man. Just hanging out, and we're just going for a ride. Okay? And I don't know that it's going to last until noon because I'm freezing, and I would like to just have a blanket. Maybe I should just get a blanket. Maybe I could do the whole show in a blanket. What's the temperature right now? 1? I haven't even been outside. Weather. My zip code. 23. That's like hot. Well, maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'm feeling the change in temperature, feeling us coming back from that, 8 or 10 degrees that we had a couple days ago. We're on the rise. We're going to hit 50 on Thursday? What? Look at that. High of 50, low of 32. That's pretty good. Maybe that's what it is. Everyone else in my family is horribly affected by the changes in weather, migraines and such. People have headaches. People get sick. I don't have that usually, but I don't know. I'm feeling something right now. I don't like it. All right, back to the Poseidon Adventure. Here's what happens. Despite safety concerns from Captain Harrison, the owner's representative insists he goes full speed to save money, preventing Poseidon from taking on ballast. Reverend Frank Scott, a minister, that's our boy Gene Hackman. Reverend Frank Scott, a minister who believes God helps those who help themselves, is traveling to a new parish in Africa as punishment for unorthodox views. Detective Lieutenant Mike Rogo and wife Linda, former prostitute, deal with her seasickness. And plus, she doesn't want to leave the cabin because she's afraid she's going to run into former customers. This is just a part of the plot on this ship. They go on a cruise, and she's like, I'm going to hold tight. And Ernest Borgnine is like, you can't live life like this. You can't live life worrying about running into one of your former customers. And it's just so horribly overacted, and I bet he was nominated for an Oscar for it. But it's stupid and funny, and I don't know. It's interesting. A lot of the stuff that you see in Titanic, what's the best part of Titanic? You know the answer to this, right? The best part of Titanic is when the ship goes vertical and people are just falling and bing and bouncing off of fences and stuff. That's all ripped from the Poseidon Adventure. They did all that stuff already. Boat flips over, things fall down, people bounce off of things. Down is up is down. I don't know if I'm telling you to see it or not see it. I'm telling you that when I woke up at 3:15 and I put on the Poseidon Adventure, it was a world I was not expecting. I've seen it before, but it had been a while. Susan Shelby and her younger brother Robin are traveling to meet their parents. Interested in how the ship works, Robin frequently visits the bridge and engine room. Retired Jewish store owner Manny Rosen and his wife Belle are going to Israel to meet their 2-year-old grandson for the first time. Haberdasher James Martin is a love-shy, health-conscious bachelor. The ship's singer, Nani Perry, rehearses for the New Year's celebration. As passengers gather in the dining room to celebrate, the captain is called to the bridge in response to a report of an undersea earthquake. Seconds after midnight, he receives word that a tsunami is approaching from the direction of Crete. After issuing a distress signal, the ship is hit broadside and capsizes, floating upside down. The escape route can only be found upwards at the outer hull, now above the water. In the dining room, survivors take stock of their predicament. Akers, an injured waiter, is trapped at the galley door, now high above. Scott attempts to convince everybody to travel with him to the ship's hull, which is only 1 inch thick in one small space of that hull. The ship's pursuer, on the other hand, tells the crowd to wait for help. Not pursuer, purser. It's the person on the ship principally responsible for the handling of money on board. All right, so the banker person tells the crowd to wait for help. Most of the survivors side with the purser. The Rosens, Rogos, Susan, Robin, Akers, Nani, and Martin agree to go with Scott using a Christmas tree as a ladder. It's a massive Christmas tree, fake tree. After the group climbs to the galley, there are various explosions. As seawater floods the dining room, those remaining attempt to climb the tree, but their weight causes it to fall. Spoiler alert, water fills the room. Ship begins sinking. Uh-oh. It's not just floating anymore. Now we've got a big problem. Scott leads the group toward the engine room. While they're climbing a ladder inside a ventilation shaft, the ship rocks from more explosions. Akers falls and perishes. Bye-bye, Akers. Leaving the shaft, the group meets a band of survivors led by the ship's doctor heading toward the bow. Scott believes they're heading for their doom. However, Rogo wants to follow them and gives Scott 15 minutes to find the engine room, despite taking longer than allowed. Scott succeeds. The engine room is on the other side of a flooded corridor. Belle, a former competitive swimmer, perfect, volunteers to go through, but Scott refuses her and dives in. Halfway through, a panel collapses on him. The survivors notice the delay, and Belle dives in. She frees Scott, and they make it to the other side, where Belle suffers a heart attack. Before dying, she tells Scott to give her pendant to Manny to give to their grandson. Rogo swims over to make sure Bell and Scott are all right, then leads the rest over. When Manny finds Bell's body, he's unwilling to go on. However, Scott gives Manny her pendant, reminding him that he has a reason to live. Scott leads the survivors to the propeller shaft room's watertight door, but wouldn't you know it, additional explosions cause Linda to lose her grip and fall to her death. Heartbroken, Rogo blames Scott. A ruptured pipe releases steam, blocking their escape. Scott rants at God for the survivors' deaths. Survivors' deaths? That doesn't even make sense. We'll go with it. While leaping across a pool of flaming oil, grabbing onto the burning hot valve wheel to shut down the steam. Dangling from the wheel, Scott shouts at a despondent Rogo to get the group through the final door. After moments of inaction, Scott's grip on the wheel releases, and he falls to his death. Rogo leads the remaining survivors through the door into the propeller shaft tunnel. They hear a noise from outside and bang on the hull to attract attention. The rescuers cut through the hull, assist the group, reveal that no one else survived, and fly them to safety. The end. The captain of the ship is Leslie Nielsen, the late, great Leslie Nielsen, who I guess when he became the Leslie Nielsen that we all know. And now if you're older than me and you remember Leslie Nielsen as a serious actor, more power to you. But the incredibly dry, play it straight, little bit dumb character that he played as Frank Drebin in Police Squad and then in the Naked Gun movies, I guess the power of that role came from the fact that previously he had been a straight actor. But then you watch the Poseidon Adventure, and he's doing the exact same thing that he does in the Naked Gun movies, except the lines aren't funny, but you expect them to be funny because, at least I, know him as that. He's pretending to be the straight-laced, straight man, whatever. Like, there's no laughing, there's no smiling. It's just straight, dull delivery that gives the comedy its juice. But then you watch him in this and realize like how much funnier it is based on the fact that he was actually just a regular, straightforward actor. I said straight actor as if he became a gay actor. That's not what I meant. I mean, he's like dry and straightforward. That's what I learned last night at 3:15 by watching the Poseidon Adventure. It's available on Prime. All right. It is 9 days until Christmas, which means we are going to go to the Bradvent calendar again, pulling out something from these archives. I haven't chosen the exact moment I want to use, but I've got a bunch of them. Like I found the television show that I did with Bob Gahn in 2007 and 2008. It was like self-produced. Kevin Sylvester was involved in production of it as well. And I honestly, I can't even. Maybe Bob's going to be on tomorrow, I think. I didn't write it down. He's either tomorrow or Thursday. I've got it in my phone. Whenever Bob is on, I want to ask him if he remembers, because I remember shooting the show. I don't remember where on earth we did it. I can't picture. I can like picture the inside of the studio where we did it, but I can't remember driving there. Like, I don't remember where it was. And we did it for, I don't know, 20 episodes or something like that. And I just don't remember. But there's CGI going on. Not CGI. Well, sort of. Like, we did it in front of a green screen. Kind of like you can do on Zoom now. The technology wasn't there for everyday people to be able to do this, but we went into a studio with a giant green screen and sat in front of it. And the graphics are kind of, I don't know, a little wonky. It looks like the future of the past. Like, you ever see one of those houses that clearly was a house of the future when it was built, but then that future never came? That's kind of what this show is like. It's the show of the future of the past. We could have used a desk. We could have used something to make it look better. There are a lot of problems. The content is good. The content is remotely or remarkably similar to the exact content that you get when Bob comes on my show now. The difference is we both, our hair is a different color. My hair is certainly a different color. 17 years ago, my hair was jet black, and now it is not. And then even like any sort of facial hair I have in any of these episodes, That was dark also. And this white crap. See this old man stuff that's going on? That wasn't happening when I was 18 years younger. So I would have been, what, 30? I don't know. Early 30s. I'm in my early 30s. 32 or something. I don't know. 07. Yeah. I turned 33 in 07. So I'm 33 there. I'm 51 now. So, yeah. Or 50, am I 51? Yeah, I'm 51. But I'm looking through. We had really good guests. I see Larry Quinn. I see Chris Brown. I see Turner Gill. Mike McDonald. Alan Wilson. Rodney McKissick. Jerry Sullivan. Bob looks young. I look young. I'll give you something from there today. Yesterday we did the Duck Bunny. Duck Bunny was our Bradvent calendar thing. You get a little gift. You open up the box and there it is. And it's a Donald Duck doll. But it's he's dressed as an Easter Bunny and he just walks right off a table. And I thought that was a good one to open with. Nick in Depew says, no idea how or why. But in the late 90s when I was 10, I loved the Poseidon Adventure. Something compelling about a big upside-down boat, I guess. Yeah, there's something to it. It was the number 2 movie in the nation. I'm just saying that you go back and watch something from 1972, and the acting, it feels like acting. Like, I feel like we've evolved to where the average movie feels realistic. Maybe that's why I hate the Marvel stuff so much. I like when it seems real. Certain parts are never going to be real. Nobody's ever going to say hello and goodbye when they answer a phone in a movie. They're just not going to. I noticed that when I was a kid. Like, how come they don't say goodbye to each other? I don't know why, but they don't. They're just not gonna. That part doesn't fit. Goodbye. All right, talk to you later. See ya. Like, that doesn't happen. It's just gone. You're never going to see that in a movie. But we've evolved, I feel like, with acting to where it feels like reality on the screen more often than not. And then when it doesn't, it just feels so tacky and, hey, see, like it's all acting. See, it's that is there. Not that voice, not that stupid inflection, but it is time for us to go to the top of the ship. Like, they talk like that. And it sucks. But it's cool, but it sucks. All right, I'm going to take a break. Excuse me. I'm going to take a break, and we'll return. I'll probably still go till noon. I was a little pouty to start the show, but we'll be fine. We'll be fine. No real plan. Don't expect content. Don't expect anything, but we're hanging out. I do have a bunch of cool stuff from today in history. Did you know? Should I save it? On this day in history, the Boston Tea Party. Okay? That's 1773. 200 years later, to the day, the Boston Tea Party was today. And then 200 years later, 1973, O.J. Simpson broke 2,000 yards as the first player in NFL history to do that, 2,000 yards in a season. So the Boston Tea Party and O.J.'s first big story. He had another one that came up 20-ish years later. But the first big one, the 2,000 yards, is the same day as the Boston Tea Party, which I find interesting. This also led me into recognizing, remember the centennial was like a big thing? Or the bicentennial, 1976. Again, I'm 1.5 years old at the time that it's celebrated on the 4th of July. But I just still, I remember even like through the 80s, a lot of references to the bicentennial in 1976. It was a big deal. And then I thought, isn't 250 years even a bigger deal? It seems like it would be. 250 to me is it's a rounder number than 200. Because it fits in, it's a quarter of 1,000. It seems like a bigger deal. So I looked up, like, anybody think of this? Am I the first one? Because we should be celebrating that next year. We should be doing 1776/1976 things all over again in 2026. And it turns out, yeah, there's lots of plans for it. It's happening. Somehow we're 2 weeks away from the year in which America will celebrate 250 years, and I have not heard it mentioned once. But then I looked it up, and it's there. We just haven't gotten to it because we're too busy chasing, the crazy stories in the news around all the time. But it's coming. You know what it's called? No, I don't know pronunciation, but it's semi, and then it's quin, and then it's centennial. So semiquincentennial. They're also just dubbing it America 250. Semiquincentennial. Coming your way. Is this the first you've heard of it too? This seems like something people would be talking about. Like, here comes 250. And maybe we're just not in the mood to all be the same version of patriotic anymore because people are fighting about what this means and what that means. And when you have a flag, does that mean you're... all this stuff. It used to just be simple, like, yay, USA. And maybe we can try it. Maybe let's try it. Let's try it next year. See if we can make it work. Semiquincentennial. Half of 500. Semiquincentennial. Yeah. Half of 500. Good. All right. I'm going to take a break. Be right back. I'm playing mostly Christmas music, although some of it a little bit more obscure than the stuff you're going to catch on FM radio this time of year. Stick around. Be right back. I hate that silence. Silence/dead air between the Christmas song ending and the bump thing. But I'm trying. At least other stuff didn't start playing. We just had a couple seconds of nothing, which is fine. I just like it tighter than that. Run a tight ship. So in the chat, somebody announced that they're going to the game in Cleveland. Pucker 6. Going to the game, going to Cleveland this weekend. Nick says planning on going to the game. He's like, yeah, that's why I'm going. Getting there Saturday. Going to go to the Cleveland Monsters game at 4, then find Bills Mafia at bars after. Yep, you'll find them. They'll be there for sure. Going to try and check stuff out before the game Saturday at 4, so maybe I'll go there too. Nick said, have you been to an away game before? I ended up jumping in saying I went to Cleveland. It was 2007. All of this actually ties together really nicely because I want to give you a gift from opening the Brad Vent calendar today. We did that yesterday with Duck Bunny, and now today we're going to do it with a segment from the TV show I did with Bob Gahn 18 years ago in 2007. It turns out the Cleveland and Bills game that I attended, here's what I wrote. I went to Cleveland in 07. Bills lost 8-0 in a whiteout and were eliminated from playoff contention. That trip sucked. I've got a lot more to say about that trip, but it was the worst. And I believe that's the only road game I've ever attended. The only Bills road game I've ever attended was, I'm not smart like people that go to games in Miami and get good weather and Bills wins. I drove to a place worse, colder, and snowier than Buffalo, and then watched the team lose 8-0 to be eliminated from the playoffs, which at the time, that extended their drought to, 7 or 8 years. It would continue for a long time. But at the time, it felt like, wow, this is a really long drought. But the situation was the Bills were 7-6. The Browns were 8-5 going into that game. So if the Bills went down there and won the game, they were very much alive for a playoff spot. And I don't remember all of the circumstances of what else they would have needed, but losing to Cleveland put them 2 games back with 2 games to go of Cleveland. I think Cleveland did get a wild card spot that year. If they didn't, they certainly were alive longer than the Bills were. Let's find that out, shall we? 2007 NFL playoffs. Did the Browns get in? Survey says, nah. Nah, they didn't make it. There were only 6 teams getting in at the time. Patriots won the East, of course. The Colts won the South, the Chargers won the West, the Steelers won the North, and then the wild card teams were the Jaguars and the Titans. So the Browns didn't get in anyway. But anyway, you go down there, you're thinking, all right, playoffs for the first time in a while. Let's do this. And it was horrible. I looked at the box score. So 8-0 sounds bad enough, right? It was white out. It was fine. Pre-game, we were fine. And then at some point, hanging out in the parking lot, it's like across the street from the stadium, they have sort of a long, skinny parking lot where it's just like against the highway. And you end up having to cross. I don't know if I think there's a bridge that leads you across over to the stadium. But all the tailgating was going on across the highway, and the lake is visible, obviously. The stadium is right on the lake. So you're on the one side of the highway, and then across it is the stadium, and then beyond that is the lake. And at some point, it just, I don't even remember if it turned entirely white or if it turned black. But I know that nothing was visible anymore. I've never felt as attacked by snow as I did that day. Because seriously, half an hour before, 45 minutes before kickoff, nothing was happening. It was fine. We were just hanging out, grilling and drinking beer and getting ready for the game. But then by the time we were walking in, the snow was heavy enough that people were, I distinctly remember, a big dude wearing a Sam Adams Bills jersey walking into the stadium and just being assaulted by snowballs because, people had been drinking and he was wearing the wrong shirt. Nothing violent, nothing terrible, but look at the fat guy with the Sam Adams shirt getting pelted with snowballs because he's got the wrong colored jersey on. We're in Cleveland, pal. That kind of deal. I remember walking thinking, this isn't great. And then we went in and sat there for the game, and I have no photos of the game because I never took my hands out of my pockets. I remember the jacket that I was wearing and, winter hat, obviously, and hood and all that, but I just sat kind of the way I'm sitting right now. My hands are in my pockets, and I'm kind of hunched over and, like, huddled up. Bundled, cuddled. I don't know what the word is, but I'm like in a ball trying to keep myself warm. That was the entire game. The scoring in the game was obviously at a premium. 3 points were scored in the first quarter. 5 points, that's a field goal and a safety, were scored in the second quarter. Nothing in the second half of the game. And I went down there with Jeremy White. And Jerry, if you're listening and have any memories of this and want to call in and talk about it, I didn't want to bother you just to do that, but if you happen to be listening, feel free to chime in, because what I remember about the game was driving down there with Jer. We were there the night before. It was cool. We went out with our friends Bob and Kelly were down there, and then other guys, Mike and Aaron, who were just dudes that we met in the parking lot from tailgating for several years out at the stadium. They were on the trip too, so we were kind of in contact with them. I don't think we sat with them, but we, hung out with them. And then the game ended, and the roads were so bad that it was not possible to drive back to Buffalo without four-wheel drive. There was just no way we were doing it. Jeremy didn't have to get back the next day for some reason. And Aaron didn't have to get back the next day. But I did, and I hadn't driven. I think Jeremy must have drove. We ended up swapping spots, is the point here. Jeremy and Aaron stayed and got a hotel and just hung out for the night to wait out the weather. And then I rode home with this guy that I barely knew, who I know his name was Mike, but he was better known as Ass Man. So that's how I got home from. I watched the Bills lose 8-0 in whiteout conditions. At varying times, the entire skyline of the city was disappearing from our vantage point in the upper deck of the stadium, looking at downtown Cleveland. And then the game ended, and then it was ridiculous getting back to the car, and then we swapped cars because Ass Man had four-wheel drive, so he was heading back. He had to get back. Aaron didn't have to get back. Jared didn't have to get back, so we switched spots, and I just rode home for however long it took in a truck with a dude named Ass Man. That game was horrible. I'm not saying don't go to the game this weekend, but it happened. Oh, yeah, and the game happened on this day in 2007. So 18 years ago today. was the horrible 8-0 Browns game. Trent Edwards was the Bills quarterback that day. He wound up with a QBR. I don't know that they were calculating it back then, but they do now. He had a QBR of 11.8 that game. He lost to Derek Anderson, who had a QBR of 21.8. Trent Edwards, 13 of 33 for 124 yards. Derek Anderson, 9 of 24 for 137 yards. No touchdowns. There weren't any scored in the game. Difference was the ground game. It seems. I mean, the difference was the weather. It was horrible. Jamal Lewis, 33 carries, 163 yards for the Browns. The Bills were led by Marshawn Lynch, 21 carries, 82 yards. Fred Jackson also had 7 for 16. Buffalo's leading receiver in the game was Fred Jackson or Lee Evans. Each of them had 36 yards. Lee had 4 catches. Fred had 3. Josh Reed had 3. Tight end Michael Gaines had 2 for 14. Robert Royal had 1 for 9. Bills had a fumble by someone named Ryan Neal. Sounds like a long snapper. Is he a long snapper? And maybe there was just a bad snap and they call that a fumble? I got to look up Ryan Neal, see who he is. Yep, long snapper. I don't recognize this guy at all. There's his face. Went to Rutgers. Well, anyway, he fumbled that day. I don't blame him. The weather was terrible. Other players of note. I mean, it's fun to just hear the names. Looking at tackles. Terrence McGee. Brian Scott. It was Brian Scott. He played for Atlanta and then the Bills maybe. Dante Whitner. Ryan Denny. John DeGiorgio. Angela Crowell. That came out like Angela, but I was trying to say Angelo. Aaron Schobel. Keith Ellison of the famed Keith's Gotta Play moments in Bills lore. Remember that? Keith had to play. Jim Leonard. John McCargo pants. Chris Kelsey. Anthony Hargrove. Larry Triplett. Forgot he was on the team. Mario Hagan. John Wendling. Blake Costanzo. Kyle Williams. Jabari Greer are the defenders listed for the Bills. Brian Mormon's in here. That's it. Those are all the noteworthy names. So I already wanted to do a thing where we open up the Brad Van calendar and give you some sort of little toy, little prize. I was going to do that anyway, and I was trying to decide what to do. But then when I realized the reason I had to get back from Cleveland on December 16th, 2007 is because we were doing our TV show the day after that. We shot it on Monday morning, so I needed to be back there to do the TV show. And I was already looking at old stuff, so now I've got the TV show from when I just got back from Cleveland. And that'll be our Brad Van calendar thing for the day. It's young me and young Bob doing our TV show in 2007. I have to do something here to make sure it works, but after that, we should be able to just play this thing. I've got it set up somewhere. Too many tabs. Too many tabs. Too many people making too many problems. Not enough RAM to go around. All right, I'm closing out this one. We don't need that anymore. We don't need Ryan Neal anymore. There it is. But how do I put it on the screen? We do that. This is the Brad Van calendar. So I think if I press this, you're going to be able to hear it. Okay, you can hear it. I want to make it so you can see it.
Welcome to Labatt Buffalo Main Event. Bob Gaughan along with Brad Riter. And coming up on today's show, Brad and I will discuss a big week for the Buffalo Sabres, the Mitchell Report, and also a little college basketball. But first, we start off with the Buffalo Bills, who lost their biggest game in years, only gave up 8 points. Brad, how do you only give up 8 points and lose that game?
It's really tough to make that happen. It's magic. I think this is a year in which the Bills have won without scoring a touchdown on offense, and now lost without giving up a touchdown on defense. So it's tough to pull off, but I thought early on in the game, and it really did show to be that way, that this was going to come down to a game about equipment. The trainers, the equipment guys, not necessarily the trainers, but cleats. Who's got the better shoes was going to win this football game. and the Buffalo Bills offensive line generated little to no push in this thing. 163 yards for Jamal Lewis is the difference in the game. Neither team could get much going on offense, but it's 3 yards in a cloud of snow, and which team could pull that off more effectively? That ended up being the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, the Cleveland Browns win 8-0, and they outplay the Buffalo Bills, I think, in every category. Offensively, you mentioned Jamal Lewis. Defensively, I thought this was supposed to be the worst defense I've ever seen in football. Their defensive line looked pretty good, or the Buffalo Bills offensive line didn't do enough to push them around. Special teams-wise, this guy Phil Dawson kicks, a 49-yard field goal. The Bills give up a 35-yard field goal. He kicks a 49-yard field goal. And coaching, come on. Coaching to win or coaching just to survive and be around? And what I'm talking about is two calls in particular. One, 3rd and 8 with about 6 minutes to go in the game. They run the ball there and then don't go for it on 4th down. I was thinking if they did run the ball, that meant...
is a sign that we're using both downs.
Yes, the Bills are using both downs. And then, of course, the last play, you need a touchdown. I know you only needed 5 yards for a 1st down, but you really needed a touchdown because you couldn't get stopped. And they throw a screen pass. I thought the Bills coaching staff in general didn't coach aggressive enough game plan.
Well, another thing that we've seen a few times this year, about 5.5 minutes left, I think, in the game, and the Bills are down 8-0, punt.
Right.
From around midfield, 4th and 8 or something. You're in a situation, neither team is moving the ball really at this point.
You might need 2 scores there.
You might need 2 scores. You've got to get this thing done. You've got to get the thing into the end zone. To punt, just to me, reeks of giving up or cowardice in a game where you can have your playoff hopes eliminated, and that's what happened.
And also, how about spreading things out? I thought Trent Edwards, the last drive, looked pretty good when they spread the field, put Roscoe Parrish on the field. Why don't we put the best players on the field? I don't want to see Gaines and Royal on the field. I'd rather see Roscoe Parrish there, and I'd rather see the Bills. I thought it was kind of like the last Cleveland playoff game where the Bills, the no-huddle came out. I thought the spread formation in that last drive looked pretty good for Trent Edwards, and I was wondering, why didn't they do it more earlier?
Well, the weather was a factor there.
Yes, it was.
Late in the game, I was sitting in the stadium, and the skyline of the city was appearing and disappearing and appearing and disappearing. There were times when it was just unmanageable in that stadium. Late in the game, it wasn't. So it was a lot about the weather and their ability to do it. But if they were going to win that game, it seemed to me like the best way to do it was get the ball in the hands of a playmaker. It was about one seam and one missed tackle. I pictured Roscoe Parrish or Lee Evans or Marshawn Lynch, say, hitting a hole, getting one-on-one with a safety, putting on one juke move, Dalton Hilliard style in the John Forcade game back in the day, and putting somebody down, and then you're in a situation where a 2-point conversion can tie the thing for you. As bad as things were for the Bills' offense, they were one seam and then juke move away from winning the game. I want the players that can put those juke moves on the field in a situation like that where the weather is going to have that kind of an impact.
Brad, the second topic is, in spite the Bills don't make the playoffs haven't made the playoffs since 1999. Only one team has made it, further than that being the Arizona Cardinals. In spite of that, was this a successful season for the Buffalo Bills?
That's tough. 7-7, could be 9-7. I'll assume 8-8 right now.
Okay.
And
probably a good assumption.
Yeah, I refuse to call that successful, but it is at least a slight building block in that they're going to go into next year. I don't expect them to lose much. I expect them to build on what they've got. And if you go 8-8 with a rookie starting quarterback and a rookie running back and all of the injuries they have and add Paul Posluszny back to the mix, I think you're in a good spot to head into training camp with some confidence. And there will at least be some buzz about this being a potential playoff team as opposed to this year where only the most optimistic fans could have looked at it and said they're going to be in the hunt come December. I think come June and July, we're going to be talking about a football team that is in the conversation to be a potential wild card team in the NFL. And I guess I call that progress. Is that a success? Not necessarily, but I think they're in a lot better spot at the end of this year than they were at the end of last year.
A lot of injuries, as you mentioned, and a lot of key players, a lot of starters go down. So the fact that they are able to go 7-7 at this particular point, maybe go 8-8, does bode well for next year. I think there are a couple of positions, though, that they definitely need. One being maybe a defensive tackle to dominate that defensive line. Other thing, they need a number 2 receiver. I think that there's just not enough offensive weapons. Teams can take Lee Evans out of the game, and Roscoe Parrish sometimes doesn't even make it on the field, like against the Cleveland Browns. I think a number 2 receiver and a defensive tackle, and the players coming back from injury, and you can build hope for me. I think, yes, this could be make a run at the playoffs next year.
You want to talk about a number 2 receiver? Never was it more obvious or more apparent that the Bills were really could use something like that than on that last drive. When I'm looking around saying, good, Parrish is on the field. What's he, 4'2"?
Yeah.
Where is my 6'3" receiver or 6'4" receiver that every team in the league seems to have, or a tight end that's a real viable weapon in the passing game? They could have used a big man in the red zone yesterday, and I bet them they don't throw a screen pass on 4th down with the season on the line.
That's absolutely correct. One of their struggles in the red zone is not having a tall receiver, not having the Kellen Winslow type of tight end. Those things really do hurt you. That's a great point. Steve Fairchild is taking the head coaching job at Colorado State. A new offensive coordinator will come in here. How big of a loss is losing Steve Fairchild?
Well, I mean, they're not going to have the offense like they had yesterday or this week.
So it's a good thing you're saying?
I don't know. I haven't been blown away by what this team has been able to accomplish offensively. I think the line has gelled quite well this year. I think that's good. I think credit to Jim McNally there. I think the quarterback has developed pretty well, and I guess Fairchild is a part of that. I like where the running game is going. I don't know how much of an effect Fairchild has had on all of this, because I like the talent, yet I don't seem to, week in and week out, think, wow, good thing they had those play calls in there. Maybe 2 times so far this year. I thought, I really like the offensive game plan, and I think they really stuck to what they were trying to do. That's 2 times in 14 games so far. So I don't think it's a giant loss. I know Dick Duran will tell you it is. That's his guy. Some of the players certainly will, but I bet if you got them off the record, they'd tell you, we think we're going to be okay.
Continuity, it is a problem. You can't just keep on going from Clemens, Gilbride, Shepard. You'd like to have the continuity that the Indianapolis Colts have with Tom Moore and Peyton Manning. So maybe from a continuity standpoint, it'd be nice to get an offensive coordinator in here that does stick around for a few years. Coming up next on Labatt Buffalo Main Event, Brad and I will answer your questions off of our emails. It's the O Restaurant and Lounge email segment coming up on Labatt Buffalo Main Event.
Got to turn the mic back on. Even O is gone. So I think that's fun to listen back to, like, Dick Duran talk. Duran and Trent Edwards and all that stuff. But then you get into even the sponsors. I mean, Labatt still exists. Our show was called Labatt Buffalo Main Event. But O Restaurant and Lounge went away and became Huckle Buckets, because it's better in a bucket, but it wasn't better in a bucket. O was better than Huckle Buckets, and Huckle Buckets didn't last. And now that old Plaza is gone. But yeah, that's how long ago the show was. We were still hanging out eating sushi at O. I even did that. There was a time in my life when I would regularly, go out with the boys for sushi. That doesn't sound like something I would do, but that happened. There was a couple-year period where that was like a pretty regular spot for us. And it was like Wednesdays maybe or Tuesdays. They had 2-for-1 rolls or something. So you go out for drinks, but also just eat a ton of sushi. That sounds weird. That doesn't sound like me at age 32, but that's what I was doing. My first kind of scheduled encounter with my now wife of 16 years was at O. I just sent her a message, hey, we're going to O tonight. If you're interested, meet us over there. And then she did. Then she just wouldn't leave. She hasn't left that whole time. That was 18 years ago. She's just still around. She's still here. She's upstairs right now. All because of going for sushi at O. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what she's thinking. All right. It's Riter Radio. It's episode 227. I literally have written down today in history, Boston Tea Party, 1773. OJ 2000, 1973. 2026 is semi-quincentennial America, 250 years. That's what I have written down on my sheet for the show today. And I told you, I didn't have it in me. But we're getting there. Summer of 1976, Scotia, New York. A young boy and his friends watched their fathers play a baseball game in the Little League Stadium. The fathers were all dressed in Revolution-era garb for women. What? Ben, you want to give us a little bit more detail on whatever you just told me? Ben's a couple years older than me, so there's a chance, actually remembers 1976. I do not. I was 1.5 on the 4th of July in 1976, so I remember the remnants of bicentennial. I remember, bicentennial quarters. I remember those. And I remember that word being thrown around a lot. And it seemed like it was a hell of a year. But I don't actually remember because I was too young. But we're hitting 250 next year. Just occurred to me today. And I hope that we can do some stuff. Looking it up, there are 2 separate... This will be interesting. This kind of tells you... gives you a little hint. Let's see. I'm going to type in America 250 and bring up the story there. It's not even a story. There's an America250.org, which is a bipartisan initiative working to engage every American in the 250th anniversary of the United States. Maybe we'll pull it together. Maybe this will be our moment. Semi-quincentennial, also called the I shouldn't do this. Sesquicentennial, also called the Sestercentennial, or America 250, or Quarter Millennium. That's a good one. It'll be the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Declaration of Independence. Festivities will mark various events leading up to the Declaration's anniversary on Independence Day, the 4th of July, 2026. This is perfect. Official planning for the celebrations began in 2016 with the congressional nonpartisan U.S. Semi-Quincentennial, or it could be quincentennial, like quinceañera, Semi-Quincentennial Commission. In 2025, guess who? President Trump created the White House Task Force on celebrating America's 250th birthday. It's a celebration task force to promote and plan events. We don't need to read the back. The background is they signed the Declaration of Independence back in the day. They voted for independence of the U.S. colonies, or the United Colonies, I should say, by passing the Lee Resolution on July 2nd. The Declaration of Independence, mainly written by a committee of 5-member Thomas Jefferson, was proclaimed on July 4th, the date on which the anniversary of independence is observed. There were no major government-sponsored 50th anniversary observances in 1826. July 4th, the day that the founding fathers and former presidents John Adams and Thomas Jefferson both died. In 1876, the U.S. organized nationwide centennial observances centered on the Centennial Exposition in Philly. In 1926, a sesquicentennial exposition was held in Philly, and in 1976, bicentennial observances were held throughout the country. All right, the organization, these two groups at the federal level that will be bringing the party to life. The nonpartisan Congressional America 250 Commission, created in 2016, backed by a nonprofit. And, as I said already, the White House Task Force on celebrating America's 250th birthday, chaired by Donald Trump and established via an executive order in 2025. See, Trump and I are not that dissimilar. He just woke up he's just the president. He woke up the one day and was like, hey, we have a birthday coming up. We got a big one. I'm going to start a task force. I'm going to do an executive order for a task force. I just say, hey, I'm going to look it up and see what's going on. He starts a task force. But seemingly random. I mean, there's no reason on December 16th to be talking about July 4th whatsoever. And I'm sure there was no reason on whatever day. Maybe it was July 4th that he woke up and was like, hey, that's 249. I bet 250's next. And put it together. The U.S. Semi-Quincentennial Commission Act of 2016 directs the U.S. government to issue commemorative coins and postage stamps and commission appropriately named naval vessels in advance of the celebration. In addition, specific activities, both officially organized and independently created, are being planned. The legislation specifically directs the organization of events in locations of historical significance to the U.S., going on to list Boston, Philly, New York City, and Charleston, South Carolina. as leading cities. The Circulating Collectible Coin Redesign Act of 2020. Man, we had nothing going on in 2020, did we? Everything shut down. Like, you know what we got to do? Got to issue an act about circulating collectible coins. That act allows the U.S. Mint to redesign any coins in 2026. It calls for a series of 5 designs for the quarter, including one depicting women's contributions to independence. Plans for the casting of a new public bell are being coordinated by the National Bell Festival. The hell's the National Bell Festival? Not Liberty Bell, totally different. This bell will honor 250 years of women's contributions to the American story and will lead nationwide ringing tributes during the celebration. We're just giving the bell sound means women now? Come on. The National Bell Festival is an annual New Year's Day celebration in the U.S. Based in Washington, D.C., the festival coordinates mass bell ringing events to ring in the new year and organizes a festival of free experiences related to bell making, restoration, ringing, and appreciation. Bell appreciation. This is real. And for some reason, that will be associated with the celebration in July. Okay. Leading cities: Boston, Philly, New York, Charleston, other places. Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton. Camp Pendleton in California had a live fire amphibious capabilities demonstration on October 18th that celebrated the Marine Corps' 250th birthday and the semi-quincentennial. And yes, I'm saying it differently every time because I don't know which way is right. So it'll be right sometimes, it'll be wrong sometimes, but it won't always be wrong. Or maybe it will. Maybe I'm missing the whole point. I don't know how to pronounce that word. I don't care. This happened in October. As a precaution, the California Highway Patrol closed 17 miles of Interstate 5 against the guidance of federal officials. During the closure, debris from an exploding shell fell on parked CHP vehicles in Vice President J.D. Vance's protective detail. I don't remember hearing about this in October. Louisville. The Sons of the American Revolution, from its National Society headquarters in Louisville, Kentucky, announced plans to develop a SAR Education Center and Museum to be open prior to the 250th anniversary, which will house galleries and exhibits, will highlight the Patriot ancestors and tell the story of the American Revolution. Pittsburgh is kicking in. In 2019, they organized the Pittsburgh's US 250 celebration, which will feature a freedom train with black and gold colors, musical celebrations with the Pittsburgh Orchestra, and a major firework display at Fort Pitt in the city's downtown area with an all-day live parade through all city neighborhoods. That sounds like a nightmare. Going to want to stay out of Pittsburgh on July 4th, 2026. In Denver, Colorado will also observe the 150th anniversary of Colorado entering the Union. The America 250 Colorado 150 Commission was established to guide the Centennial State's twin commemorations. San Francisco, Bay Area, will observe the 250th anniversary of the founding of San Francisco, as well as the 175th anniversary of Santa Clara University. Several events will be held in honor of the Bay Area's triple celebrations, beginning with Super Bowl 60, which will be held at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara on February 8th, as well as part of the FIFA World Cup at the same stadium in June and July. And then in D.C., the proposed Memorial Circle Arch would welcome people as they approach the traffic circle on Columbia Island, heading toward the Arlington Memorial Bridge and into the west end of the National Mall. A 5,000-seat Ultimate Fighting Championship arena is set to be erected on the south lawn of the White House for UFC White House in 2026. So, yeah, UFC fight. We're going to celebrate 250 years of America with MMA on the south lawn of the White House. Ballroom won't be ready yet. Ben, I asked you for further details on what happened in Scotia in the summer of 76. He says, I wish I had an explanation, but I don't. It's a very fond memory, just like the one my kids will have when I dressed as Taylor Swift for Halloween. What? Okay. Good enough. All right, done with that. Let's see what else we have open here on the screen. It's like I said, I've got nothing on my sheet. Just woefully unprepared for a show today. But that doesn't stop me from talking. I'll just keep going, man. Oh, this one's good. So Zootopia 2 is number one in theaters for the third consecutive weekend, and rightfully so. I assume. I haven't seen it, but the first one was great. But I have discovered, and maybe you already knew this, but Zootopia is massive in China. Like, something about the storylines matches up with their culture. And while it's, I won't say it's a forgotten film, the first Zootopia is a forgotten film in the United States. I haven't forgotten it. I have kids that liked it, and we have all of our movies saved in one place. So it's like we've had Zootopia since we've had kids, basically. I don't know when the first one came out, but it's been in my life the whole time. The original Zootopia came out when? When did it come out? I'll look it up. I can look other stuff up. We're in the super slow computer, like, gotta reboot it after the show type of deal. But that's all right. All right, Zootopia came out in 2016. Okay, so my third kid was born in 2016. So Zach was 4. Like, we've been on board with Zootopia the whole time. I don't know if they saw it in the theater, but we've owned it forever. So I don't forget about it, but apparently America has forgotten about it. It's just a 9-year-old movie that's whatever. However, in China, they're going nuts. Story out of Beijing. Qi Waiho is a person, a 21-year-old person, recently welcomed a new family member, a beautiful, highly venomous blue snake. The 21-year-old from a province I can't pronounce bought the Indonesian pit viper for 1,850 yuan, which is roughly $260, 2 days after the release of Disney's animated hit Zootopia on November 26th. Key's favorite character was also the franchise's newest, Gary the Snake, believed to be inspired by the Southeast Asian serpent. As a reptile lover, Key had long wanted a blue snake, but he finally went ahead and got one after seeing the positive and adorable portrayal of the snake character in the movie. He told CNN, Zootopia 2 helps give reptile pets a better image. They're not oddballs, and Gary is the most representative character among them. I love his enthusiastic attitude and his sense of responsibility. So this dude is 21, and he likes the cartoon snake, so he got this venomous snake as a pet. And according to the headline, he's not the only one, because it says, Gary from Zootopia 2 is a hit in China. Now young people are buying venomous pit vipers. This is a story from yesterday about what's going on in China. In the movie, Gary sets out to clear his family's and all reptiles' reputation with the help of the original film's protagonists, Bunny and Fox duo Judy and Nick. Key added that reptile owners like him have long faced prejudice in China, often considered to have a weird taste for creepy creatures. He hopes Gary the Snake, that's D-E' snake, Gary the Snake, can help improve their image. He's not the only one who adores the film's blue snake so much that they'd like to have a real-life version despite its venom. Since the movie's release, major Chinese e-commerce platforms have seen a surge in searches and an uptick in prices for the Indonesian pit viper, commonly known as island bamboo pit viper in China. I feel like it has a different name. I feel like they speak it in Chinese, and it wouldn't sound anything like what I just said. That's not the point. With its cost ranging from a few hundred to several thousand yuan, Chinese state media outlet The Paper reported, reptiles have increasingly captured young Chinese people's hearts in recent years. More than 17 million people in the country owned exotic pets by the end of 2024, according to data cited by Chinese state news agency something, which said the market size was approaching 10 billion yuan, or $1.4 billion. More than 60% of them were from Gen Z. So Chinese Gen Z loves reptiles. I typed into ChatGPT, like, why is this funny? Because it's funny to me. And it was basically telling me, like, don't make fun of Chinese people. It's not them. Like, all right. But I just wrote, what's funny about Chinese people loving Zootopia and Zootopia 2? Because I know it feels funny, but I don't know what is funny about it. And then ChatGPT is very careful, telling me what people are reacting to isn't Chinese people themselves. It's the unexpected scale and intensity of Zootopia's popularity in China, especially compared to how it played elsewhere. Here's why it became a thing people joke about and how to frame it without being gross. I didn't ask to not be gross. I want to know what's funny about this. Why do I find it funny that China is seeing a movie, a cartoon movie, an animated film, and they're like, you know what? That movie was awesome. I'm going to go buy a venomous snake. That's funny to me. Not because they're Chinese. Well, kind of because they're Chinese. It's a piece of American culture, and I think they're taking that's the wrong message. Like, I don't know who wrote Zootopia. I don't know who assembled it. I don't know what they had in mind, but an uptick in the sale of poisonous snakes in China could not have been anywhere near the list. Could it? It says the popularity gap is shocking. In the U.S., Zootopia was a big Disney hit, well-liked, then culturally done. In China, it became a phenomenon. It's been re-released, rescreened, memed, and merchandised, still culturally alive nearly a decade later. That mismatch is funny in the same way it's funny when Japan obsesses over a random Western band, Europe loves an American song Americans barely remember. The humor is, wait, that movie? It goes on to say Nick and Judy accidentally hit cultural sweet spots. Without Disney intending it, the movie landed on themes that resonated strongly in China. Outsider success story with Judy. Clever survival versus brute power, Nick. System pressure, hierarchy, reputation. Rules and rebellion inside a controlled system. People joke because it feels like Disney accidentally made a movie that hits way harder overseas than at home. The surprise is the punchline, not the audience. Or that surprise is the punchline, not the audience. Goes on to say Zootopia fandom went deep. Massive fan art communities. Serious shipping culture. I don't know what that means. Long essays, memes, re-edits, and theories. To Western eyes, it's funny because the movie feels finished here, and over there it feels alive. That contrast creates humor. It says Zootopia 2 jokes, quote, of course it's for China. When Zootopia 2 was announced, jokes popped up like, this movie exists because China demanded it. And Disney finally admitting who the real audience is. That's industry satire, not ethnic humor. Similar to jokes about Fast and Furious being made for international box office or Transformers surviving purely on overseas ticket sales. All right. The important line, and this matters, says AI. I don't know why AI is coaching me to be so careful talking about China liking snakes and buying snakes. I guess I didn't ask it about the snakes. I just asked it about the movie. What isn't funny? Mocking Chinese people. Right. I would never do that. Treating them as a monolith. I don't know how to do that. I don't even know how to treat something as a monolith. I'm not capable of it. Using accent stereotypes or their weird framing. Okay. It's just telling me to be polite. Like, this is AI going, hey, have some humanity, sir. I got you, man. What is funny, a mid-2010s Disney movie becoming a long-term cultural obsession somewhere unexpected. Corporations quietly pivoting because another market loves something more than the original one did. If you want to joke about it cleanly, the joke should always point up at Disney, the box office, cultural blind spots, not down at the audience. Yeah, but it's the audience buying snakes because of an animated movie they like. That's weird. Don't tell me that's not weird. AI? What are you talking about? All right, so that's that story. It's 11:45. We're going to make it to noon, I think. I think we're going to do it. I didn't think we would. They said it would never happen. The silence is me waiting for this thing to disappear off my screen. But it's not. It's just kind of frozen. Which is okay. Pretty low-key show today. This is not my best effort. I know that. I'll be better tomorrow. Bob will be on tomorrow. It'll be great. Bob was on today. Oh, yeah, we didn't even discuss. I played the thing from 17 years ago, and we didn't even talk about it. That sounded just like our show sounds now, right? Not that much different. It looked different because we were younger and thinner and less gray. But that's just me and Bob doing our thing. And that was 10 years into me working with Bob. So now I'm 27 years into working with Bob. Is that right? Man. Yeah, that's right. I started in radio in 97. And Bob interviewed me for the job. So, yeah, how about that? Florida chef saves regular's life after 78-year-old stops showing up for daily meals. This is a good one. I haven't read the whole story. I just got the gist of it. A Florida chef is being credited with saving the life of one of his regular diners after the elderly man didn't show up to the restaurant he's been eating at twice a day, every day, for a decade. Charlie Hicks, 78, has ordered a cup of gumbo light on rice without the cracker from the shrimp basket for lunch and dinner every single day for the last 10 years. This is in Pensacola, Florida. We open the doors up. Mr. Hicks is there to greet us. Donnell Stallworth, a 45-year-old chef at the Shrimp Basket, told the outlet. But in September, the regular missed his informal reservation several days in a row. Stallworth said that was enough indication to know something was wrong. At first, the staff phoned his home, and Hicks said he was sick. So they delivered his gumbo to his apartment. Hicks insisted they leave it at the door because he didn't want to get anyone else sick. On the third day, though, his phone went straight to voicemail. Stallworth told CBS News he originally feared the worst. He left in the middle of his shift and drove straight to Hicks's apartment. I would eat at the Shrimp Basket. Shrimp Basket, seafood, po' boys, oyster bar, crawfish, burgers. Yeah, this place looks like my kind of place. He knocked on the door repeatedly. There was no answer. Right when I was going to turn, I heard something, a voice just like help. And then I opened the door up and he was lying on the ground and I didn't know what his condition was. That was the scariest part right there. His, quote, best friend had fallen, broken 2 ribs, and was severely dehydrated. The septuagenarian was hospitalized during his arduous recovery, but the dedicated staff at the Shrimp Basket endeavored to keep his spirits high and delivered his usual order daily. This is the first good story to ever come out of Florida. Like, first positive, not, hey, they're crazy. It's like, this is like a regular people story. This is like a Buffalo story, but it's in Florida. It's good to know there are actual people in Florida. I didn't know that. I've been to Florida a few times. I hate it. But this is all right. This is better. After he was released, they went the extra mile and helped Hicks find and move into a new apartment right next to the restaurant so they could keep an eye on him. He said that Donnell saved his life, and I'm pretty sure that Donnell and the Shrimp Basket staff saved his life. Donnell has been texting him and visiting him. Apparently they're best friends, said Hicks's niece. We made a connection, Hicks said. By December, the regular was back at the Shrimp Basket, chatting with Stallworth at his usual table. Stallworth told Pensacola News-Journal that they usually start off by talking about the Andy Griffith Show, then let the conversation flow from there. Stallworth said, I'm glad to have you back, buddy, when Hicks entered the Shrimp Basket for the first time since he was discharged from the hospital. Stallworth told CBS News that having Hicks so close is the best thing going. He's that uncle, he's that grandfather, he's that best friend, he's all in one. A positive story coming out of Florida. How about that? Didn't have that on your bingo card for Riter Radio today, did you? Maybe Brad is reading an AI controlled by the CCP. That's not true. No, this is me. This is real. I'm real. All right, I'm closing this one, and it's going to take a couple seconds because the computer is acting like this. Google not responding. Google Chrome not responding. But it will. It'll respond eventually. I'm just going to hang out. My Windows is infected with 5 viruses. I don't believe you. I don't believe the thing that was just on my screen. I think it's lying. All right, what's this one? 2025's worst movies, soulless product, ill-conceived awards bait. Oh, the first picture they have here is from the Minecraft movie, which I thought was all right. All right, counting down 10 terrible movies, according to UPI.com. Is that like the real UPI, like AP and UPI? That used to be a thing. United Press International. 2025's worst movies. All right, number 10, Freaky Tales. The directors of Captain Marvel returned to their indie roots, but forgot the distinct voice that made their films Half Nelson and Mississippi Grind memorable. Freaky Tales is based on true events from Oakland, California in 1987, but feels derivative when all of its anthology stories lead to the same sort of violence. Never heard of it. Moving on. Number 9, Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere. How about that? I haven't seen it. I was told that I shouldn't see it by Springsteen fans who know that I'm not a big Springsteen fan. I'm not anti-Springsteen like I used to be. And I would think I would like that movie. They say it's gotten too easy to mock bad musician biopics. But they keep making the same mistakes like this year's Blue Moon and upcoming Song Sung Blue. Even focusing on one album, Springsteen is laughable when Bruce translates inspiration into famous songs, and the film assumes audiences already know things it should be illuminating. The film does its subject the biggest disservice, turning Springsteen's real-life mental health struggles into plot points. Well, I don't need to see that. At number 8, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. This remake should just disappear into the streaming ether, but before it does, here's why. A modern update of the Nanny from Hell thriller could be relevant. Instead, this remake relies mostly on the same motivations, watered down of their sexual tension. The remake pays lip service to relevant issues like a child's developing orientation and weaponizing her rebellion against parents. But the twist is only that these new characters behave less believably than the ones from 1992. All right, number 7, Flight Risk. I don't know if I know this one. To be fair, they released this in January, so they knew Flight Risk wasn't major competition, but there's more exposition in the first 10 minutes than in the whole MCU. That's Marvel Cinematic Universe, right? Am I getting it? All to set up a generic thriller about transporting a mob witness. As the witness, Topher Grace is insufferable, whining about his situation and completely unbelievable that he was a mob accountant. They'd have eaten him alive. Think the mob eats accountants? All right. Mark Wahlberg doesn't fare much better as the hammy hitman. The conversations they have with voices on airplanes radio are absurd. Director Mel Gibson has fallen far from the performances and epic historical drama he directed in Braveheart. Okay. That's at number 7. Have I seen any of these? Yeah, 1. We already mentioned it. Fountain of Youth is next. John Krasinski's involved. Fountain of Youth has less charisma. I shouldn't skip ahead. All right, this all-star globetrotting treasure hunt is worse than watching someone's vacation slideshow. Back before people just posted vacation pics on Facebook. Fountain of Youth has less charisma, too. Mistaking an insufferably toxic hero, John Krasinski, for charming. Action never rouses, despite filming at least in part on location and in physical sets. But the whole endeavor feels apathetic. Wow. Ella McKay. I don't know what this is, but I feel like I've just heard of this one. If not for the irresponsible depiction of mental health issues, Ella McKay may have simply been a forgettable misfire. There are many other problems, such as uninformed portrayal of politics, unrealistic depiction of relationships, and a random character given outsized screen time played by the director's son. All of that is just annoying. Misrepresenting mental health is harmful. Okay, that was number 5. At number 4, Another Simple Favor. I recognize that girl, the woman. I don't remember her name. They got the gang back together, but without a book on which to base the sequel. So the machinations reuniting characters who survived the first movie reduce both of their intelligence. Even allowing that another murder can happen amongst the same crowd, what really spoils the fun is that every character has become mean. Aw. That sounds terrible. Number 3 is Den of Thieves 2, Pantera. This is just pampered actors posturing as tough guys saying the F word a lot. That sounds good. But that's what made the first one popular, so mission accomplished? I don't know. I don't know what Den of Thieves is. Or maybe I do. Oh, wait, I've seen Den of Thieves. It was forgettable, but I saw it. Number 2, How to Train Your Dragon. This isn't the live-action remake that least gets what was great about the animated original. That was 2019's The Lion King. But in 2025, How to Train Your Dragon renders the DreamWorks classic as a mundane CGI movie. The effect itself adds levels of separation that distract from the character's journey, while the film dilutes the animated vibrancy with an overcast aesthetic. Sure. And then at number 1 is a Minecraft movie. It's the worst movie of the year. It's not too much to hope a movie based on a corporate asset be creative. The Lego Movie and Barbie exist. No such imagination survived the development of the Minecraft movie. What's most shocking is they built sets in Minecraft style because all of it still looks like disembodied green screen. Jack Black earns his paycheck selling it, but he's still saddled with exposition and one of at least 4 convoluted subplots that barely revolve around building things, the whole point of the game. That's just being mean. It was fine. It was funny. Kids laughed. They all sang along. They all had their, I don't remember what the line is that they were all shouting, but they did it. We watched, that was our movie for movie night at our baseball thing, at our baseball field. And we watched the Minecraft movie, and all the kids, it was like Rocky Horror Picture Show. They somehow all knew what to do during the movie. So it did something culturally significant. All right, and then after that, I opened up the worst Netflix movies of 2025. And, yeah, it's a list of 10. I'm not going to read all the details, see if there's anything in here I recognize. Back in Action. It's got Cameron Diaz and Jamie Foxx, and I've never heard of it. That seems bad. Kinda Pregnant. The worst thing about Amy Schumer's throwback comedy, Kinda Pregnant, is that it really only has one idea. It's not a particularly bad one. What if a grown woman, overly conscious of the passage of time and longing for positive attention from strangers and loved ones, fakes a pregnancy to make herself feel special again? That doesn't sound very good. I'm not going to watch that. The Electric Slate. No, State. The Electric State is the next movie on this list. The Russo brothers' reign of terror over Hollywood post-Avengers Endgame continued this year with The Electric State, an aggressively dull dystopian action movie set years after humans won a war against robots and banished the robot survivors to the exclusion zone. That sounds terrible. I'm not going to do that. The Old Guard 2. Never heard of The Old Guard. Never seen this actress before. Never heard her name before. Skipping right by it. Up next is Fear Street, Prom Queen. In summer 2021, audiences were delighted when Netflix dropped not just one, but a trilogy of horror films that capitalized on retro slasher nostalgia, adapted from a series of books by R.L. Stine. The Fear Street movies remain some of the best features Netflix has ever commissioned, but the 2025 follow-up Fear Street Prom Queen failed to recapture the momentum of the first three. Okay. Here's another thing called My Oxford Year. An American student studying abroad. Boring. The Woman in Cabin 10. This is the only one on this list so far that intrigued me ever. I thought maybe. I haven't gotten around to it. This might prevent me from watching it. Keira Knightley's 2024 Netflix spy series Black Doves is great, but her 2025 Netflix thriller film The Woman in Cabin 10 is not. In the novel adaptation, Knightley plays an investigative journalist invited aboard a wealthy yet terminally ill socialite super yacht who believes she witnesses someone go overboard, but all the passengers on the boat are accounted for. It's a kind of intriguing setup that could go one of two ways, either a Gone Girl-esque masterpiece or a confounding and narratively muddled mystery that goes nowhere. Unfortunately, this one picks the latter. Up next, Medea's Destination Wedding. I've never seen a Medea movie, but there are a lot of them. There are 12 in the Medea cinematic universe. At this point, a Medea movie doesn't exactly need to be good to be entertaining and fun, but Medea's Destination Wedding manages to be neither of those things. It's a streaming movie in every sense, with none of the stylistic panache that many of Perry's projects, yes, even the goofy comedies, tend to have. The plot follows Medea and her extended family's trip to the Bahamas after a member of their family gets engaged, but it mainly plays like an ad for the Atlantis Resort, even clunkier than that infamous Old Navy product placement in Riverdale, and with none of the comedic charm found in many of the other 12 movies featuring Medea. I will watch that. If it's basically an ad for the Atlantis, I'm looking at the picture. There's Tyler Perry as Medea in a hotel I've been in. I'll watch things when I'm familiar with them. That's why I'll watch anything set in Buffalo. It's the stupid Bills movie was terrible, but it was great. Because you're just playing I Spy the whole time. I'm going to watch this movie. Medea's Destination Wedding. I didn't know it took place at the Atlantis. I missed the Atlantis. We're coming up on a year since I was there. No Bahamas Bowl this year. No bowl at all this year. Sad. But I'll watch Medea's Destination Wedding. The Twits is the next movie listed here. The best thing about Roald Dahl's funniest children's books is the way he incorporates his grisly, often cruel sense of humor into mostly harmless material meant for kids. Imagine our surprise when Netflix's animated adaptation of The Twits, perhaps Dahl's meanest book, its title characters, though married, spend their days trying to violently torture animals, their neighbors, and each other. His meanest book abandoned all bad taste in favor of a hopeful message about kindness and empathy towards your fellow man. Sure, it's difficult to imagine a modern adaptation of that book that kept all of its jagged edges intact. The blatantly racist African monkey caricatures would for sure have to go. But it's as clear an example as any that today's children's movies are unwilling to take even the smallest of storytelling risks. Okay, now we're going to talk about A House of Dynamite. This one I saw. And we discussed it. I talked about it with, I don't know if it was with Scott or Jeremy. I think it was with Scott. It was. The first 45 minutes of A House of Dynamite has exactly the kind of high-octane sense of thrill and dread you would expect from an end-of-the-world movie directed by Catherine Bigelow. True. But sadly, that feeling fizzles after those 45 minutes are up. True. The film chronicles the American military's response to a missile launched by an unknown adversary, from detection to an attempted defense maneuver, from 3 different perspectives of the American government. The film's major issue is its structure. You see the same thing from the eyes of 3 different people, each less interesting than the last. I think that's right. Even Idris Elba playing the U.S. president isn't enough to keep its second and third chapters from feeling stale after the thrills of the first. That's right. You really can just watch the first third of it and be done. Oh, they have the best movies here, too. Best Netflix movies. Plankton the movie. Nanas. That's Vince Vaughn and old people. K-pop Demon Hunters, of course. Broke. I don't know what this is. It's one thing to be a chronically broke bareback bronc rider with no fallback skills and dealing with a possibly career-ending head injury, but it's another to be all those things and get caught out in a freak spring blizzard that forces you to fight for survival while battling the injuries and stress you already have. I'm not going to watch that one. There's a movie called Steve that they like. When Cillian Murphy is starring in one of those guy having the worst day of his life productions, you know it's going to be good. In Steve, Murphy plays a head teacher in charge of a last chance reform school for troubled boys who is nonetheless determined to give his young charges another chance at fixing their lives, no matter how many times they call him a dick. Okay? The film follows one day in Steve's life as he breaks up fights, fields a mountain of personal crises, and generally makes sure none of them feel like they're all alone in life. Don't need to see that. The Thursday Murder Club. That's Ben Kingsley. That's Helen Mirren. That's Pierce Brosnan looking super old. Thursday Murder Club. An unassuming elderly person solves a murder is one of the more familiar whodunit tropes, spanning everything from Agatha Christie's delightful Miss Marple mysteries to the recent Kathy Bates Matlock reboot. I don't think I want to watch that one. Frankenstein, directed by Guillermo del Toro. It says naturally it was going to be a banger. I don't think any of us were quite prepared for how much of a banger it actually is. Full of aggressive biblical imagery and sweeping polar vistas and anchored by 2 of the best performances of the year. I'm not going to watch that. Train Dreams. Meditative and mythic with a keen eye for natural scenery and performances that breathe. Train Dreams is by far one of the best movies of the year. How can you be by far one of? It's not a real way to put things. Train Dream. I don't care about Train Dreams. Jay Kelly. I saw Jay Kelly. Movie about an aging movie star determined to win back the friends and family he's alienated in favor of his successful Hollywood career. Sounds a little corny, and Noah Baumbach's drama, Jay Kelly, fully leans into that corniness and is all the better for it. I would agree with all of that. Starring George Clooney as the title character, the movie follows Kelly as he takes a madcap trip around southern Europe trying to reconnect with his daughter while also heading toward a career tribute ceremony in Tuscany. It sounds terrible, but it's not. Clooney's desperate energy is tempered by Adam Sandler and Laura Dern, taking some wild swings themselves, and the whole thing culminates in an acting montage that will have Clooney fans, young and old, dabbing at something in their eye. I thought it was good, not great. And then the other one that they're recommending, which keeps popping up on my screen, haven't done it yet, Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. Benoit Blanc is back, and this time he's taking on the Catholic Church. Well, one church specifically, which happens to be the site of a heinous murder. To solve the crime at the heart of Wake Up Dead Man, Blanc will have to gather a murderer's row of your favorite actors, Josh O'Connor, Glenn Close, Josh Brolin, Kerry Washington, to choose some scenery while the detective figures out who's really at fault and how they managed to almost get away with it. Where previous installment Glass Onion felt almost too contemporary, Wake Up Dead Man travels back to crime fiction's gothic roots, crafting a mystery that would impress Agatha Christie and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle alike. All right, maybe I'll watch that one. There you go. Those are your movie reviews. Fair review of House of Dynamite, says Nick. I agree. Eddington and Jay Kelly were both all right Netflix movies. Eddington, I think, was good. I don't know Eddington. I haven't seen that. First, The Old Guard was excellent. Train Dreams is next up on my list. Whenever Clooney says something about being fine alone and then some aide immediately handling him something is the best bit in the movie. It was good. I liked it. I don't know that I need to watch it again, but I liked it once, and I recommended it to my wife. Thought she might like it. Okay, closing that one. It's going to take a couple seconds. We're beyond noon. I didn't think I'd make it. I did. Phillip Rivers is going to start again. He remains QB1 Monday night for the Colts against the Niners. They didn't win, but he was all right. He was 18 of 27 for 120 yards. The head coach lauded him for his management of the game, which remains a driving force behind keeping him in the lineup. Shane Steichen said, him being off for that long, obviously there was some unknown. But for him to go out there and do what he did to put us in a position to win in a hostile environment after that long of a layoff was pretty impressive. Getting us into the right plays, managing the game, I thought he was phenomenal in that regard on the sidelines. His leadership, all those things he brings to our team will be beneficial for all of us. I like the story. I've always liked Phillip Rivers. If you're familiar with what I was doing on the radio back in 2004, you would know that. Jeremy and I were very high on Phillip Rivers, and it was the Bills really needed a quarterback, and they were picking like 13th, and it was being talked about as if Rivers was going to be a second-round pick, and we started going nuts. Like, if he's available in the second round, you should take him in the first round. And then it turned out he wasn't available at all because he went 4th overall, and then was immediately traded to the team that had the first pick overall. We learned during the process that the Chargers wanted Rivers, and they had the first pick, but they felt they could do better than just taking him by taking Manning and swapping with the Giants, and that's what ended up happening. So the Chargers didn't draft him. The Giants did. The Chargers took Manning first. Rivers went 4th. I'm just reliving history. You either already know this or you don't care, is my guess. But I'm just telling you. I've been on the Phillip Rivers train for a long time, is my point, and him coming back 21 years after I was campaigning for the Bills to draft him while he's a finalist for the Hall of Fame is an interesting story. I like it. Here's a Boston Globe story that I can't open, but I can just read the headline. I've been very curious about how things are being treated in the Boston area following that win the Bills had on Sunday. A lot of whining, a lot of, the officiating is what cost us type of stuff. I didn't feel that. I thought there were some weird moments in the game. The weirdest was the way that the Patriots were granted a free field goal at the end of the half with the goofy use of the clock. But here's the headline. Losing to the Bills might provide best of both worlds as the Patriots grow into their contention era. I will say that's probably right, in that if the Patriots beat the Bills twice and then they were to meet up again in January, we would be getting into all of the, it's hard to beat a team 3 times type of stuff. But also I think you would be dealing with a ridiculous amount of pressure on May and the Patriots to handle this team they were able to handle in the regular season. Not unlike the Bills facing the Chiefs in the regular season versus the playoffs. I could see it building to that. Now that they've lost to the team, there's going to be a healthier dose of respect, I would think, for the team. And it's probably better for the Patriots, if they're going to play a third time, to have lost this game. I will agree with that. Don't get me wrong. I wanted the Bills to win it because I still want the Bills to win the division. I still think it's very, very likely that they do. But I can see from the Patriots standpoint how it might be better to have dropped that game. Okay, what else do we still have on the screen? It's just taking so long to get from one to the next. LA Angels president testifies he wishes he'd known about drug use before pitcher's fatal overdose. There's I think it's a civil trial going on right now. President of the Angels testified Friday in a wrongful death lawsuit that the fatal overdose of pitcher Tyler Skaggs was tough for the club, and he wished he had known sooner about drug use by the player and one of the team's employees. John Carpino, president of the Angels since 2009, made the comments during the final moments of defense testimony in a long-running trial in California over whether the MLB team should be held responsible for Skaggs' death. He told jurors that Skaggs and team communications director Eric Kay, who was convicted of providing Skaggs a fentanyl-laced pill that led to his 2019 death, were both addicts and distributed drugs too. Says, knowing what we know now, I wish we would have heard. Closing arguments are scheduled for Monday in the lawsuit filed by Skaggs, or by his family, I should say, contending the team knew or should have known Kay was addicted to drugs and dealing to players. Angels lawyers have argued team officials didn't know Skaggs was taking drugs, and any activity Skaggs and Kay happened on their own time, or any activity involving Skaggs and Kay happened on their own time and in the privacy of the player's hotel room on a team trip to Texas. So, yeah, it's 6 years ago that happened, and we're still wrapping things up on that one. All right. That's another story on that. Matt Prater is out. I don't know when this happened, but he is out for Week 16, so the Bills are going to need another kicker. They've already got Tyler Bass on injured reserve. He's out for the year. The Bills are without Matt Prater for Week 16 against Cleveland. Prater's considered week to week with a right quad injury. He's 18 of 20 on field goal attempts, 43 of 46 on extra point attempts. 90% field goal efficiency is on pace to be his highest since 2015. Quote from McDermott, not ideal. Matt's done a really good job having that consistency during the year. Obviously, T-Bass had the surgery, so he's not an option either, so we'll figure that piece out. Bills will also be without Jordan Phillips against the Browns due to an ankle injury he suffered against the Patriots. Christian Benford and Terrell Bernard are considered to be improving going into this week. And wide receiver / kick returner Mecole Hardman could have his 21-day practice window opened up this week. He's been on IR since November 20th. He came in for 10 seconds, was on the team for 10 seconds, got hurt, and has been on IR since then. Already did this day in history, but I'll mention again. First of all, it's happy birthday, Beethoven. Born on this day in 1770. Then 3 years later is the Boston Tea Party. And then 200 years after that, O.J. Simpson broke the 2,000-yard barrier December 16th, 1973, in a game against the New York Jets that is depicted on a poster that used to be behind me when I had my desk facing a different direction. He wound up with 2,004, I believe, yards on the season. 2003, sorry. December 16th, Bills faced the Jets at Shea Stadium in New York, and he rushed for 200 for a record-setting total of 2003. All right, close that one out. We've got the semi-quincentennial. Already talked about that. Chinese Zootopia popularity. Celebrity deaths we're skipping today. National Bell Festival we did. We played a portion of my show from 2007. Our show, Bob Gaughan and I had a TV show. Played a clip of that as part of the Brad Vent calendar because we're 9 days from Christmas. Tomorrow will be 8 days from Christmas, and we'll give you something from the Brad Vent calendar there. We'll also give you real live Bob Gaughan, I believe. Let me check that because I said it's tomorrow, and then I said I'd check, and then I didn't check, so I'm going to check. Bear with me. Come on. No, this won't go away. Where are you, Bob? Close that. Close that. Thank you. All right. Text. Gotta reboot everything. Everything's running slowly today. Bob Gaughan. Let's do Wednesday at 11 this week. Yep. All right. So we'll have Bob tomorrow at 11, and that'll be fun. So please join us. Thanks for listening, watching, sharing, subscribing, commenting. I like this, the text thing, or the chat thing that's going on. Wake Up Dead Man felt like the weakest of the Knives Out movies, but also good, not great. Fair. I'm a maybe on that. I haven't watched any of the Knives Out stuff. I might. All right. Play a song and get out of here. Let the Christmas music happen. I'm all right with that. What am I missing? There we go. All right. Thanks for watching and listening to episode 227. Shout out Marla Gibbs. I meant to do like a Marla Gibbs backdrop, like 227, the TV show, or Jack K. Remember Jack K? But I forgot to make any 227 jokes, and now it's over. I don't know when the next one will be that's a funny number. 227 is a funny number. 250 is a milestone. We'll do something special for that. But when's the next funny number? 420? Or maybe 267 will be funny. I don't know. 40 episodes from now, 6-7 might not be a joke anymore. It's not really a joke to begin with. It's not anything. All right. 228's tomorrow. Bye.